But let's talk about Troy for a second. So
Okay.
Troy or Ilion is most likely located on the site of the present day village of, I'm probably going to say this wrong because I don't know Turkish, but Hisarlik in Turkey on the southwestern corner of the Dardanelles. Famously, it was located by a guy named Heinrich Schliemann, who is a
Shilman.
famous archaeologist, probably one of the most famous archaeologists who's ever lived. And it must be said, terrible archaeologist. I mean, he just like so many pioneers in the field, he destroyed so much evidence because he had no idea what he was actually doing when he was trying to dig this
Oh,
stuff up. But
so basically he was Indiana Jones. I mean,
yeah, in the
let's do an
character of
analysis of
Indiana Jones,
Indiana
the
Jones as an
character of Indiana
archaeologist.
Jones, oh, he's terrible. He's
Yeah, he
terrible.
breaks a
Also,
lot of stuff. Like,
breaks a
come
lot of
on.
stuff.
Going in there on his own. I
And
mean,
when
you
he
got to
says
love
like
him. But
uh, when he says like this belongs in a museum, I'm always like, whenever I see like religious objects in museums, I'm like that belongs in a church. But
in
anyway, um,
a
it was famously located by Schliemann using basically information from the poem and other sources from the ancient world, which people in the modern, early modern world had kind of written off and been like that never happened. And then he
yeah.
said, what if we took all of these accounts seriously and we read them closely and we started digging? And he dug and he found what he thought at the time was one city, and what we now actually believe is maybe somewhere between 7 to 9 cities.
Mm.
And these are normally helpfully labeled Troy 1 through 9, which is also, could be the name of like a film franchise or something. Uh,
Well, I mean,
Troy 1, Troy 2,
that reminds
Troy
me that
2,
like
Electric Boogaloo.
in Lithuania, there's I can't remember the name of the town now, but there's actually a town that there's this version. The town is town one, and then there's town two. It's
Right,
literally the same name of the town, but there's one and two. That's actually how it's named.
right. But this happens, you have to understand this happens a lot in the ancient world because a good place to build a city is a good place to build a city, especially when technology is not changing that much over the course of many hundreds or even
Yeah,
thousands of years. A
yeah.
good place for a city just is always going to be a good place for a city. So there are somewhere between 7 and 9 cities there, depending on how you kind of count them, that have been on that site since at least 3500 BC.
Mm.
So pretty long time, no matter how you reckon time. So in particular, Troy 6 and 7, which may actually be the same city, is probably the most likely candidate for the Troy of the Iliad. I will say that debate quietly rages on this point. You can always find people who will put out a different hypothesis, but I think most people think Troy 6 and 7, which were quite large, well fortified, kind of match all the descriptions that you find in the Iliad and in other literature, and then also seem to belong to the correct period.
Okay.
So Trojan culture is most likely Luwian or Hittite is what most people would know it as, Hittite culture.
So not Greeks, although in
They're
the Iliad they're
very
all speaking
importantly,
Greek.
they are not Greeks. Yeah, very importantly, they are not
Right.
Greeks.
That's kind of the whole
Actually,
deal. Yeah, I mean
actually,
Hittites,
the
right? By the
Greeks
way,
themselves, the Greeks themselves in the poem aren't really Greeks. They're Achaeans,
Achaeans or Argives.
Argives. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. So they're probably Hittites. So who are the Hittites? You can
who
Wikipedia
are
this,
the
but
Hittites?
who are those Hittites anyway? But yeah, they're an Indo-European culture
Right,
in what is now roughly Turkey,
right.
Asia Minor, right?
Anatolia. I still call it
Anatolia,
Anatolia
yeah,
in my
yeah,
heart.
which just means the
Yeah,
east.
yeah.
On a yeah, but yeah, so they're an ancient Indo-European culture that's in that region. There's no modern equivalent to them. They were basically taken over by Greek culture.
Yep.
So yeah, but they're different. This is one of the key things is that they are one kind of people, and then the Greeks, as we often call them, but they're actually the Achaeans, are another people. But in the poem, of course, they all speak Greek, just like on Star Trek, everyone speaks English.
So right, exactly. Yeah. They all speak Greek at least in the poem. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, ancient Hittite as its own branch of is actually its own branch of Indo-European. Just for people who want to know,
Yes.
it's its own branch of Indo-European. It's got a lot of funky things about it, but is related to ancient Greek and
Yeah.
ancient Latin and things like that as well. But yeah, so they're these Hittites are related in some way to the Hittites in the Bible. Not totally clear how.
Right. We don't know.
Yeah, again, debate quietly rages.
I mean, when you get to stuff that's this old,
Yeah,
there's just not a lot of evidence to go on. So you kind of piece together fragments in a way that has the most
right,
explanatory power.
right.
And that's
Yeah.
what you got.